Hey guys, Alex Ratcliffe here from Board Game Co. And it is time for the big one. It is Nemesis Lockdown, and the question of the day, should you back it? And the answer is yes. Yes, you should back it. That's a wrap. I will see you in a day or two with Come On Comics. You can like this video, subscribe down below, comment, tell me if you're backing it and why. I'd love to know down in the comments down below. But in all seriousness, let's get into it. Let's go into Nemesis, and it's not actually as clear, despite the fact that I do think you should back it. It's not nearly as clear as that little joking intro makes it out to be. Nemesis is currently at 2.5 million, almost 2.5 million, about 5 hours into the campaign. That is absolutely insane. It is absolutely killing it right now. It's killing it. It's 5 hours in. We have 20 days to go. This is insane. They are doing phenomenally well, and I do think this is a safe back. Nemesis Lockdown, if you don't know. Well, first of all, a bit of an intro. If you're new to this channel, I tend to do these videos from a perspective not just whether it's a good game, not really covering the gameplay in and of itself, but rather covering the value proposition, covering whether a Kickstarter is offering you enough of a reason to back it other than FOMO, other than support the creator. I tend to look at it as, is this a game that will be worth what you paid for it? Or is this a game that's going to hit retail and suddenly be, half as much, and you're effectively, backed it to get it a month early or whatnot. In any case, that being said, so going back to Nemesis Lockdown, this Nemesis blew it out of the water. This is a reprint Kickstarter with new content, new stuff. They didn't actually, supposedly initially they weren't going to have the initial core from the original Nemesis in this, but based on the amount of feedback they got, they spoke to their publishing partners, they edited some agreements, and they said, hey, we'll have it, but we have to charge a bit more. I don't know if that was, back and forth or actual. Either way, it's all cool. We all win there. So, as far as the actual campaign though, Nemesis is one of those games that became very, very hard to find at a reasonable price after the fact. Now, don't get me wrong, many of Awaken Realms Kickstarters do fall in that category, but I think Nemesis really hit that high point of a ton of demand, a game that was generally well-liked, and then just you had to pay 2.5, 3 times the price to get that Kickstarter after the fact, which makes this subsequent Kickstarter, and the fact that it's at 2.5 million almost, it makes sense. It makes sense. I didn't think it would be that high that fast, but I did think it would get that high, and I did think it would be something high pretty fast. I didn't anticipate just how big it would be, but it is certainly big. So, while I think this is a safe back, and I'm going to get into that more, it's not nearly as clear as I would have liked it to be, and I'll cover that why as well. But let's start with the pledge levels. Let's go through the pledge levels. We'll cover the game a bit. I'll cover my own opinion. Am I backing it? But let's start with the pledge levels. So starting off, we have a £95, $117 pledge level, which includes Nemesis Lockdown. From there, we have the Nemesis Core Box at £105 or $129. This will give you the basic Kickstarter pledge from the first campaign at a roughly $25, $30 more in price. So it's a little bit more, but then again, it's not nearly as much of a risk. So if you were on the fence last time, that's still a great buy. From there, we have $185 or £185 or $227 for the Lockdown gameplay. And finally, we have the £245, $301 gameplay all in. Now, if you go on the campaign page, they do a great job breaking down these options. They do a great job showing you what you get for each option. Over here, we have the Lockdown gameplay all in, which basically includes all of this. We have the Nemesis gameplay all in, which includes all of this, and they do have, and we have over here the, where is it? I can't find it. But it's worth noting there is some overlap on those bundles, meaning the Void Seekers is part of both bundles, so you do want to pay attention to that. Where we have, yeah, and then we have add-ons down below. So a few things to note. Let's go through a few things. First of all, add-ons are not necessarily always included in your pledge level. These are gameplay all-in pledge levels, so you want to pay attention to the fact that there are multiple add-ons that are not gameplay. There are specifically some, cosmetic expansions. They have a terrain expansion for another $30 or £25, the King's expansion for $39, £32, and the Space Cats expansion for $19 to £16. All in, you're looking at nearly $400 or £330 or so to get everything if you want all that stuff. Now, these are cosmetics, so you definitely don't need to get them. It's going to come down to your own degree of FOMO, how immersed you want to be in the game, how much you like it. And when you have those add-ons, part of this decision is going to be how popular is the game. How many people want this game? Is it a game you like? Do you already have the original Nemesis Core pledge? Do you not have have you played Nemesis? Have you not? Are you getting it hoping it'll be good? All these things should factor into your decision. Now we're going to talk about one last thing before we get into what my opinion is on the backing and all that, and that is shipping costs. Shipping costs will run you as low as $17 and as high as $50 for what you're getting, depending on which bundle you're getting, where you're shipping it to, and whether you're getting 1 or 2 wave shipping. So to give you an example, let's go down to the chart. They have a great chart over here that covers that. Right over here. Okay, we have 1 wave shipping chart and a 2 wave shipping chart. So for example, that core pledge, if you want the Nemesis gameplay all in bundle and 2 wave shipping with all the old Nemesis stuff shipping earlier and the new Nemesis stuff shipping later, that's going to cost you $42. To the US, that is. Versus on the lower end, if you're just getting the lockdown pledge itself and you're getting it shipped in 1 wave shipping, that'll cost you $21. So there's these different options here on the table. And that shipping cost is, again, as usual, something to take into account. So, why do I think this is a good back? Why do I think this is a safe back that you'll see your money back on? And why do I think it's not nearly as safe a back as that, $2 million plus in day 1 would seem to indicate? So I think it's a safe back because this is an established property. This is from an established company that has their games have generally held their value. They have Lords of Hellas, they have The Edge Dawnfall, they have Tainted Grail. These are all games that have successfully held their value. They also have other fields, but that hasn't come out yet. So in general, this company's games hold their value. And you do want to use a company's track record. Companies that have a track record of producing games that hold their value generally continue doing that, because part of why these companies do so well is their production quality is so good. The production quality is great. The actual games tend to be great. They tend to be well sought after. They tend to have particular distribution models that make their Kickstarters hard to get after the fact, or at least hard to get with all the stuff you want. And all those different aspects, both game design as well as their supply line choices that they make, tend to factor in the aftermarket demand for these games. Otherfields is a game that I passed on for a variety of reasons, and there's still a little bit of FOMO in me of, should I have gotten it, should I have not? I already had too many games, and the game itself didn't speak to me as much as I wanted to, but even then, I still want it, and I'm not willing to pay a premium, but there are many people who will be willing to pay that premium. So I do think Nemesis will hold its value. That being said, I do not think it will hold its value nearly as much as the original Kickstarter did, for a variety of reasons. First of all, this is a reprint Kickstarter, which means everyone who wanted in after all the hype of the first Kickstarter has had a lot of time to wait for this, to hear about this, and to back this. That's why we have 14,000 people on this screen over here, numbers climbing while this video goes on. 14,500 people who have currently jumped in on this game. Because when you have that initial Kickstarter, there's less of a amount of hype and news. There's only so much time people have to find out about it through Facebook, through whatever group they're in, through the Kickstarter itself, through suggestions. There's only so much time people actually have. Whereas now they've had years to figure this out. Nemesis has been around for a while. It has been well liked for a while. There definitely are critiques. There definitely are people who don't like it. But overall, it has received a fairly decent, amount of reception in terms of how good the game is and how much people like it and the unique experience it provides, that overall people have had time to hear about it and back it. So you will not have that lag versus in the original Kickstarter you had X amount of backers and Y amount of people who heard about it and wanted it after the fact. Now you don't have that nearly as much. The number of backers versus the ratio of additional people who will want it after the fact is not nearly as high as I would like it in terms of being a really, really safe back. Now, don't get me wrong, it is a safe back. We'll touch upon that. But this very much reminds me of Seventh Continent. The closest thing I could think of when I was looking at this Kickstarter is it's very akin to the What Comes Up Must Go Down expansion for Seventh Continent, which raised $7 million. And honestly, it's very possible that at $2.5 million 5 hours in, it's very possible Nemesis will beat that number. But Seventh Continent had a very similar arc. It had an initial print run that was well received. The game was super hard to get. People were paying 3 times the original pledge levels to get that Kickstarter, to get that game so you could have all the content. And then the second Kickstarter came out, and 43,000 people pledged $7 million to get the same and more. Same idea. They had a lag, they had a timeline, they had a ton of people who found out about it, who were not willing to pay that 3 times premium, heard about the second Kickstarter, came in, got it, and then what happened to the aftermarket after? What happened? Those new copies that people had gotten in the second Kickstarter, initially for the first week or two, maybe the first month, and this is something I say a lot, if you're going to get rid of a Kickstarter, try to play it and get rid of it as soon as possible, while people still have that FOMO of how the market is and what they're going to do. But past that initial wave, past that first month, Seventh Continent now, it's going for basically what people paid for it. Maybe add 30, 40, maybe $50. You can get the full bundle of Seventh Continent, What Goes Up Must Come Down, for only slightly more than what people paid. I believe it was $250 for everything, if I recall correctly. The rookie bundle was rookie plus full gameplay is $250. You're paying more than that to get it, but not by a significant amount. It still holds its value. Again, don't get me wrong, but not nearly as much as the original Seventh Continent did. The original Seventh Continent was getting 3 to 4 times its value on the aftermarket, whereas the newest Seventh Continent, you're seeing a small amount of profit or covering shipping costs, however you want to define it, but it's not nearly as much. I think Nemesis is going to see the same arc. I think you're going to see that this game, you will be able to back it at whatever pledge level you want, whatever optional buys you want, you will be able to get your money back, plus the shipping costs you invested, plus maybe, an extra 10 to 15%. But if you're backing this as an investment opportunity to triple your money, I recommend passing if that's why you're backing it. I'm not against backing Kickstarters to make money off of it. I'm going to do another video on that at some point, but all these people who think it's completely unethical, I think it's crazy. It makes no sense to me. Why would any way it would be unethical? We'll cover that in another video, topic for another day. But in terms of whether if you're backing this because of how popular the game was and you want to buy 3 copies and use them to pay for whatever Kickstarters are, it's been an expensive month on Kickstarter. If you're doing that, I think it's a mistake. I think this game will hold its value, but it won't be a ton of value. And if you are doing that, sell them right away. Meaning get them, and people are very often irrational. And as soon as the Kickstarters start landing, people aren't sitting there waiting. They're sitting there. So they are sitting there waiting, and they're like, oh my gosh, I need to get this game right away, because if I'm not careful, maybe someone else will sell it for more. But in reality, when you have this many backers, usually the price will go down. Only when a game is a sleeper hit will the price go up. The original Nemesis, the price went up over time because of the sleeper hit aspect. The original Blood Rage, the price went up. The original Seventh Continent, the price went up. But on average, and especially with reprint Kickstarters, that price will go down over time. If you are patient, if you miss this Kickstarter, if you're stumbling upon this video, a year and a half from now and Nemesis is all set to deliver and people are just waiting for it, don't run out and buy a copy right away. Wait till the aftermarket plunges a bit, wait till it settles a bit, and you'll be able to get this. You'll still pay more, but not as much more. And similarly, as a seller, if you have regrets about your own copy or you bought multiple copies to get rid of, dump it while the market's hot. I'm trying to give advice to both of you of how to, I'm trying to give advice to the sellers of how to maximize your return. I'm trying to give advice to the buyers of how to not get taken in by the sellers. So fair game over here. I'm nice to both parties. But anyways, that's my opinion on Nemesis. It really is a safe back. My little gimmick stunt in the beginning of, yes, it's a safe back, subscribe down below, video over, I meant it. This is a safe back, and the only real deep dive of the video is more about how it's not nearly the level of return that the original had. So don't count on that at all. This Kickstarter is going to top 5 million, almost certainly. I wouldn't be surprised if it tops 7 million. The hype is absolutely blowing up here, and any pledge level is a good option. You can look at them again. You can take a look. There's too much content. Honestly, what am I doing? Let's talk about what I'm doing. I'm going full all in. I haven't decided on the cosmetic expansions. They feel overpriced, but they feel overpriced only if I keep them. If I don't like the game and I sell them, I'll get my money back. I'm not worried. If I want to keep them, do I really want to pay $19 for 4 cat figures? I don't really know. They look cool, but do I care that much? So I haven't decided on the cosmetics as much, but the overall gameplay all in, I'm excited about. They already announced, here, let's take a look over here. They already announced their first update already. They have the day 1 update. They are doing, by the way, worth mentioning, they are doing stretch goals on a daily basis. They are not doing monetary stretch goals. Every 2 days, they're going to be doing a stretch goal update with various amounts of content. They ditched the monetary stretch goals, which honestly it's a new trend that I like the monetary stretch goals, but I understand why people ditch it. It takes away all that negative buzz mid-campaign when people are wondering why aren't we unlocking anything, and it's because it's mid-campaign. So daily stretch goals I think are generally a better thing. I like it most when campaigns kind of do both, when they have a few monetary stretch goals and then tons of daily. And it's all fake to a certain extent, but it just builds up that hype. It builds up that buzz. It keeps backers involved. And I think they probably should have done less content and had daily stretch goals, meaning less content in each stretch goal, and done them daily instead. I think a 2-day buzz gets people a little antsy and a little bit nervous. But anyways, day 1 stretch goals. To begin with, they have these Kickstarter day 1 special event cards. For those who don't know, this is because the Kickstarter on day 1 completely crashed. Of course, Nemesis is taking credit for that, and Maybe it was because of them. I mean, it's a lot of people trying to hit Kickstarter at once, but at the same time, who really knows? It happened with Come On 2 days ago. Seems like Kickstarter's just having a bad day in terms of a bad week in terms of keeping their servers running. But they have over here Kickstopper, turn off the power on every floor. That's hot. Lockdown. They have 3 different cards that are all about the idea of shutting things down. That's hot, and Lockdown could have been repurposed from other stuff. I have no idea. But Kickstopper, I mean, I do assume they put that together now because that would have been a bit premature to just assume they were going to break Kickstarter in some way. So that's cute. It's clever. I like the fact that they added that. They said they will be playtesting them because they just came up with them. They have a new 5th character, Xenobiologist, already. And over here we have the miniature. By the way, my own opinion of Awaken Realms miniatures is I like them. I think they're great. They're not as much to my personal taste, but I say that while liking them. I just mean that in terms of my favorite company, they're not my favorite, but they definitely have a very distinctive style that I appreciate, that they do separate themselves from the market somehow with their style. I love these doors over here. The broken doors are great. They have this system where if the door is on the map, it's an open door. If the door is off the map, it's a closed door. Sorry, if the door is on the map, it's closed. If it's off the map, it's open. And if it's broken, because you can have all 3 states. And then they have some new wound cards. Finally, they are doing a voting for the new alien race. If you like participating in those, feedback loops and whatnot of what goes on and how we create it, then this is a great opportunity to do it. They're definitely involving the audience in the creation of the alien race, which I find fascinating, the degree to which they're going for it. So we'll see. We'll find out how it plays out. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is Nemesis is killing it over here. It's absolutely killing it. I will almost certainly be backing. I mean, I currently have an all-in pledge. I will almost certainly be keeping it because Nemesis is a game that I very much want to play. I have not been able to play it yet. I'm excited to play it. I actually just got a copy recently, and then COVID-19 hit, and it wasn't going to be played with any of my group because we're playing online games only right now. So I sold it because I figured, hey, I'll sell it now while the market's still hot, and I'll get this one over here. Something I've said before, I have never backed a Kickstarter with the intent of exclusively selling it for profit. I have nothing against it, I just don't like going to that much trouble on it. But very often I do get games and turn around and sell them. Nemesis is a game that I acquired for myself because of all the hype and I wanted to try it, especially when they announced they weren't going to have it in the Kickstarter. And then I got it, they announced they were going to have it in the Kickstarter, plus I couldn't play it, so I turned around and sold it, and excellent. That's basically it. I'm Alex from Board Game Co. Like, subscribe, follow this channel if you enjoy seeing the monetary aspect of board games, the monetary aspect of what's going on in the hobby. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love board games. I play hundreds of games a year. I play hundreds of new games every single year. I play, 20 games a week. I love board games. I do. But I love the process of figuring out how to grow a collection, how to grow this hobby without absolutely breaking the bank, or at least minimizing that as much as possible. And that's why I do things this way. It's not because I view it as a dollar sign. It's because I want to have the collection I can have with as little spending as possible. And if that resonates with you, subscribe down below. Let me know. And until next time, I'm Alex, and I will see you in a day or two with the Come On Comics Breakdown.